Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a book about books, The Science Fiction Traveler by Shannon Appelcline. This is about science fiction that inspired and then was derived from Traveler. And it's some of the stuff that Mark Millar found to be influencing when he was creating Traveler. And then we take a look at some of the fiction that has actually come out of Traveler itself. I looked at several of the Traveler-inspired novels a few weeks ago. I'll put a link below to that video, but this video will be more about what's in this book and how it shows how science fiction shaped Traveler, and then later how Traveler shaped some science fiction. So we're going to take a look at the science fiction in Traveler today. I also want to remind everybody, I do have a Patreon going. I'm trying to grow the channel, get a better backdrop, maybe a different shirt, that kind of thing. For that, I need a little bit of funding. I'm also looking to expand the channel in different ways, technologically and maybe in other ways that I can't go into right now. And for that, I need a little bit of help. So please remember the Patreon if you're in a position to help out a little bit. I'd appreciate it. Also, I want to remind everybody of subscribers. I'm still getting about half my views from non-subscribers. Come on, I'm at roughly 1,400 subscribers, 1,450 as of the filming of this video. Come on, we can double that number easy. So if you've been on the fence, come on in. I post videos a lot, and most of them are stuff you might find interesting. So I talk about games in here a lot, so come on in. But enough of the commercial. Today, back to the topic at hand, the science fiction of Traveler by Shannon Appelcline. The Science Fiction in Traveler by Shannon Appelcline. This book was published in 2016. And I remember buying it right away when I first saw it, because, of course, I've always been interested in fiction dealing with Traveler. And what the book does, there it is, Far Future Enterprises, 2016. This was in conjunction with Mark Millar. He owns Far Future Enterprises. And award-winning reviewer Shannon Appelcline, Designers and Dragons, investigates the science fiction literature that shaped the culture and content of the Traveler science fiction role-playing game. He reviews and discusses the broad expanse of SF that influenced Mark Millar as he designed the massive background universe of Traveler, and then gives equal consideration to the novels and short stories that were inspired by Traveler. As I said in the intro, I did a couple of videos, or I did a video a couple of weeks ago, rather, dealing with fiction in Traveler, books that both feel like Traveler and inspired Traveler, but also came from Traveler. So that Shannon Appelcline goes through his opening here and then talks about how he structured this book. Basically, he's compiled a lot of older reviews that appeared in other sources, and he did 23 reviews that he gathered and 6 new ones written for the initial release of this book. And this will take us through the inspirational stuff from the 50s and 60s that inspired Mark Millar with Traveler, and then takes us all the way through Mark Millar's novel, Agent of the Imperium. And he gives a couple of different ways to look at the book, the writing style, and then the Traveler substance. Does this feel like Traveler? Is it something that you would use in Traveler? So we take a look at Traveler influences from 59 to 79. And Shannon gives us several examples here of different books. H. Beam Piper's Space Viking series. And because of this book of reviews, I read The Cosmic Computer and enjoyed it greatly. I'm still getting around to Space Viking, but I really enjoyed Cosmic Computer. So here we go. He goes into the Dorsai novels by Gordon R. Dixon. And the style is 4-star. The Traveler substance is 2. And it's funny because he goes through and he tells you what he thinks of the book, and then he tells you what he thinks about its influence on Traveler. And even though he got this information from Mark Millar as to whether it was Traveler or not, there are places where he disagrees and says, well, this couldn't influence much in Traveler. It doesn't have a lot to do with Traveler. I thought that was kind of amusing. I liked that he had enough of his own sense of what Traveler influences should be, that he actually kind of went against the interviewee, Mark Millar, and said, well, this doesn't feel like it really influenced Traveler all that much. I just thought that was kind of neat. So he goes through the genre and style, and then the applicability of Traveler gameplay, and then publication notes. So you find out everything about where this was published, if it's still available, and how it's still available. And I found that very useful too, and I'll get into that a little bit, especially for the Traveler stuff. Sorry, having a little trouble with the tablet there. Okay, so now we go to the next one, which is the Cosmic Computer. And this is why I read the Cosmic Computer. I've heard of this book for years, but I'd never gotten around to reading it until I read Shannon Appelcline's opinion of it in Cosmic Computer, or in this book. And honestly, it's good. It tells the story of a planet that was uplifted during a great war, but now that the war is over, it's kind of backslid a little bit, and what the inhabitants of the planet are doing and not doing to keep their planet great. And it's just a really good look at that. And it tastes just like Traveler. And then there were a bunch of books in this series. There's a nice list of them. And then Space Viking, which I have not gotten to yet, also by H. Beam Piper. And again, I'm not going to go into each and every book and all the detail. I just like the idea that we get to look at these old books, and these are the ones that really, per Mark Miller's own words, these are the ones that really influence the history of Traveler. And some of these are very well written. Some of these novels are very well written. The reviews are well written as well. The Keith Laumer, I've read a little bit of his stuff. I'm not real familiar with it. He's called out here. And then E.C. Tubb. Read very little by E.C. Tubb, unfortunately. I may have to rectify that soon. Man wrote a lot of stuff. And then we get to Hammers Slammers. I was actually an early adopter on Hammer Slammers. Even before I started playing Traveler, I bought a Hammer Slammer novel in '79. They're pretty good. It's not a series that I felt had a lot of influence on Traveler, and Mr. Appelcline tends to agree with me. But it's good military SF if you want to read that. The Concord Art series. I talked about this in my video about Traveler influences and books that were influenced by Traveler. And this is a series of books that were written by Jefferson P. Schweikhofer, who also had written for Dragon Magazine, done some Traveler articles and such for that. And these were set in his Traveler universe, not the official Traveler universe. And they've got a pretty nice Traveler flavor to them. The writing is a little challenging. You're going to have to put a little effort into it. But if you do want to have some Traveler flavor, these are definitely Traveler flavor. So that was Not in Our Stars, The Universal Prey. And Mr. Appelcline goes through details what he thought of each of these books. The Presidium of Archive. And Empire's Legacy. These were published under the Infinity imprint that was created by Gary Gygax after he left TSR in the mid-'80s. And the 3 Concord Art novels were published under that. That's actually where I first found them. And Voyage of the Planet Slayer, another tale of the Concord Art. And then Revolt and Rebirth, the 3rd book. And now we come to the new era, 95 to 2011. So now we're starting to get into the actual fiction that came out of Traveler. That was the stuff before this was all stuff that influenced Traveler in its creation. Now we're looking at stuff that came out of it. And the first novel was The Death of Wisdom by Paul Brunette in 1995. Also published the same year was To Dream of Chaos. I looked at both these books in my previous video. They're pretty good reads. The Death of Wisdom is better than the To Dream of Chaos, in my opinion. You got to kind of strap in for these and just say, you know what, I'm going to tuck my head down. I'm going to read these. There is a lot of nice Traveler the New Era stuff in it. So if you're playing Traveler the New Era or you just want to be in that universe for a little while, these books are very good for that. These are also the books that had the curious situation of 2 ends of the trilogy being written. The first 2 books were published by Game Designers Workshop before they closed. And then when they closed in 96, Mark Miller had talked to Matthew Carson and asked him to write this conclusion to Backwards Mask, but then later found out that Paul Burnett had actually written a conclusion to it. So we actually got 2 third novels for this, and they are contradicting each other, but that's okay. And you can read it and decide on which one is the ending you like. So I was pretty excited when that happened. And then we get into Diaspora Phoenix, Yesterday's Hero by Martin J. Doherty, he of current Traveler writing fame, and A Long Way Home by Terry McGinnis. Says The Death of Wisdom. Again, I'm not going to linger on the stories, but these are set in Traveler of the New Era, so 1203, thereabouts, after the collapse, Strephon's assassination and Virus and the collapse. Now we're in the New Era, bootstrapping our way back to existence. And a very good look. If you don't want to commit to these books, it's a good way to take a look at them. Diaspora Phoenix was written by Martin J. Doherty. That was published under the Quicklink Interactive imprint in 2002. And I read this back when it came out. I was very interested in Quicklink Interactive. I bought a lot of their stuff. And then we ended up with the Traveler D20 series, Traveler T20 through Quicklink. And I've taken a look at that on my channel as well. I liked Traveler T20 and played that for a very long time. I've only recently gone back to the 2.6 version, which is Mongoose 2nd edition that I've gone ahead with. But I played T20 for a long time. And then we get Tales of the New Era, Volume 1, Yesterday's Hero, which is a bunch of short stories. And these are just fun reads, and they're mostly shorter, so they're quick reads. There's A Long Way Home by Terry McGinnis. And then we get to the Third Imperium, 1998 to the present. And we get Force of Destiny by Dale Kemper. And then we get Gateway to the Stars by Pierce Askegan. This is from 1998. It was published as part of the Mark Miller's Traveler T4. That's a strange book. It definitely feels like the author, he's a professional writer. He's written many things, Pierce Askegan. But it felt like he was just given a quick outline of what the Imperium was and did, and he just kind of stapled some stuff on. It's a strange book. I bought it when it came out. I'm not sure how available it is anymore, but it's a strange book. There's The Force of Destiny. I talked about this in the previous video. This is the one that was written and published, but the author never got his compensation, so those published editions actually became technically not legal, so it's kind of interesting. It's not a bad story, though. I enjoyed that read. And a lot of these are available now on DriveThruRPG or through Mark Miller's FFE, Far Future Enterprises site. So all you have to do is look around for these. Gateway to the Stars, Pierce Askegan, as I told you. I'm not sure the availability of that particular novel. You can find it in secondary markets, I'm sure. Fate of the Cannoneer. I just talked about this one in a video about a week and a half ago, where I looked at the Cannoneer and then I tied it to this. This tells us what happened to the original Cannoneer, the ship that gave the entire line of ships their names. This is actually a pretty good read. I like this book. And then we go to Shadow of the Storm by Martin J. Doherty, a story of the Solomani Rim. Again, if you want the Traveler of the New Era, there is quite a bit of fiction that was written for it. And most of it's pretty good. Martin J. Doherty is a very good writer. It's definitely worth reading. Agent of the Imperium. I looked at this on its own a few months ago on my channel. This is Mark Miller's first Traveler novel. As an historic novel, this book is unmatched. You get so many tastes of the Imperium throughout the years. It takes place roughly from the years 336 to 736. So 400 years following a dead man named Jonathan Bland. And you can either watch the previous video that I did on it or just read the book. I recommend this book highly. A lot of great Traveler history and flavor in that book. And then we go short fiction from 1993 to present. The Traveler Chronicle, T4 JTAZ, there were 2 issues of that, and then Slices of Life by Martin J. Doherty. Traveler Chronicle was a short-lived fanzine. It went about 15 or 17 issues in the 90s. It was published from 93 to 97. It did some Traveler fiction, which was pretty good. I'm actually going to take a look at the magazine sometime in the near future on my channel. I like this magazine. I was very excited to have get my hands on it in the 90s. So there's a look at some of the fiction that appeared in the magazine. I believe that this is available also through Far Future Enterprises, the actual Traveler Chronicle magazine. So you could get the information or the stories there. And then JTAZ, the T4 JTAZ short fiction. These guys, they only went 2 issues. It was issues 25 and 26 of the Journal of the Traveler's Aid Society. And I happened to get lucky and I found them at my local hobby store, and I grabbed them both when I did. The fiction is okay, kind of just page filler. It's the entire magazine's not that great. You can find them in secondary markets, and if you're a true collector, yeah, absolutely, I totally get doing it. As far as the quality, like most things T4, unfortunately the quality was kind of lacking, so you might not want to worry too much about paying too much for this. Then we get slices of life between after T4 went away in 98 and Mongoose Traveler came up in 2008. It says that Traveler disappeared in its original forms, and it's true. It went into GURPS Traveler and then T20. Those actually are both really good systems, and both the stuff is written so rules light that you can read any of those books and apply it to any era of Traveler you care to. I love both those series. This is another one by Martin J. Doherty, and just a bunch of short fiction by him, and then publication notes and where you might still be able to find it. Some of the stuff's not available anymore, unfortunately, because the websites are gone that these were published on, but some of them are available through DriveThruRPG and Far Future Enterprises. And then we go to Timeline of the Future, and this gives us kind of the reading order, if you will, for where they are. You're starting in Milieu Zero, and then going up through Agent of Imperium, Gateway Era, the Golden Age, the Rebellion, and then the New Era, and then takes us all the way to the year 1215. And then Inspirational Reading, these are just different books that also are good Traveler inspirational reading, listed by author. And in here you're going to find, Larry Niven. I thought he was significantly absent in here, but maybe Larry Niven's stuff, his known space stuff, wasn't as big an influence as I always thought it was on Traveler. I don't know if it was an oversight or just something that was not called out by Mark Miller when he was interviewed for the book. There's also an excellent piece of fiction by one of the Keith brothers from Traveler's Digest. I think it's number 18. It's about an 8 or 10 page story about, I've talked about that one before on my channel as well, about transporting some Kukri who are in cold storage but then wake up halfway through and you have to deal with the fact that they're claustrophobic. But that is missing in here, but this is really good as far as inspirational reading and stuff you might not have thought about, and especially the older stuff. Let's face it, most Traveler fans are not all that young. There are plenty of young ones, and some of the older ones may have just missed some of this fiction along the way. Younger guys, hey, this is some pretty good stuff that you could read, even though it's old. As I convinced both my kids, just because a movie's made in black and white doesn't mean it's bad. They both love Casablanca because it's a superior film and it's in black and white. So there you have it. That's really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to just make everyone aware the Science Fiction and Traveler by Shannon Appelcline is around. I'll attach a link for the DriveThruRPG download. I know Mr. Appelcline is active on Facebook, and he's working on a new book. So anybody that knows anything about the new book that he's working on or has any comments about other things that he's written, I'd be very interested. Go ahead and put them below. But that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.